So guys, welcome to today's class. I'm so excited to see you all again. So today is our first class in Power BI. We are going to be starting with Power BI. Sorry, today is our first class in SQL. We're going to be starting with SQL. So SQL is like the programming part of data analytics. All right. It's a programming part. You've done Excel where you handle the spreadsheets, the data, putting them in tables, creating tables, and all of those. You've done Power BI where you did a lot of data connection, data cleaning, Power Query, all of those, visualization, visuals, and the rest of them. Those were all fun. You were creating, you could see the design you're making, you could change the color, you could just click a button and all of those. But here, is SQL for you. SQL is none of those. SQL is like um writing program, like programming language. We did web design, SQL, JavaScript, HTML, what is it called? All of those. So this is the same thing here. You write programs, all right? So SQL is a structured query language, sometimes pronounced as SQL. So if you call it SQL, you're right. If you call it SQL, you're right. Well, most of these Indians, all these guys, they call it SQL. You'll not hear them call it SQL, but whichever one you choose to call it, you're correct. It's a domain-specific language used in programming and design for managing data held in relational database management system. So the key word here is number one, programming. It's a programming language. All right. So it's a programming language, which means it has a structure. For example, if you want to use HTML to write hello world, you're going to write, it has a structure. You're going to open that via brackets, put all of those things, then you just write uh, a language, you write a program that is going to display hello world. If you wanted to use Python to write hello world, you're going to, put this right syntax, which is print, then you put it in quotation mark, then you put hello world, it's going to print hello world. So it has a structure, kind of a syntax. They call it syntax. So the same thing with SQL. If you wanted to print hello world, there's a way you write it. Maybe it could be print hello world or something or something. So it has its own language, which you're going to be learning. But the good thing about it is that it is very, very simple. They made SQL so simple that it's like normal English. It's not like all those Python or Java, all those ones. This one is like normal. It's like you're writing normal English language. The same way you say print hello world is the same way you just write it in SQL. So it's like you're just writing normal English sentences, and it's going to be turning it into programs that display results for you. And then the second part is that it is a relational database management system, RDBMS. So this relational database management system, let's start from the database management system. So a database management system is kind of having a database where data is stored. All right. So SQL is different from Excel and it's different from Power BI just with for some few reasons, but the major one is that Excel is a spreadsheet. It's just a spreadsheet. It doesn't store data. Even though you can write your data, you can have your data set in Excel and then save it. You save it as a spreadsheet, but it doesn't store it. It doesn't mean it stores it. It doesn't have the capacity or the facility to store data, right? Now, if you come to Power BI, it's the same thing. Power BI does not store data. They just they just display or visualize data for you. Then when you come to SQL, SQL is a storage system, is a database. Database means collection of a lot of devices that stores your data. And it has a way of storing that data in tables. You have to store those data in tables, and those tables you're storing that data, as long as those data are related, all these tables must be connected to each other. They must be related to each other in such a way that each table can transfer or receive data from another table. That is the meaning of relational database management system. So there are many other kind of database that can just be database management system. That is RDB, BM, no, no, sorry, DBMS. But in terms of SQL, it is RDBMS. It must be relational. And who can tell us how this relational works? Like this relational, how do you think tables can relate to each other? Like two tables now or three tables. How can we link them up to relate to each other? Who can just remember? Just think back a little. Take your memory back a little and see if you can remember anything.
Foreign key and foreign key.
Thank you. Through foreign keys and primary keys. That's how tables relate to each other. So the concept of foreign keys and primary keys will be so loud in SQL. It will be so loud in such a way that you can't do without it. Since every single table must be related to each other. So now let's continue. Structured query language. So SQL is structured query language is a standard programming language that is used to manage relational database, whatever. All right. So the language now is this SQL that you're seeing. It's used to write uh, database management system. So how is it using data analytics? SQL operates on tables, like I already mentioned. I think I've explained this part in this place, but let's see go through it, which is organized. So the secret here is that for you to even mention foreign key and for you to mention table in the first place, that table must be organized in rows and tables, in rows and columns, just like it is in Excel, so that they will be able to relate, so they can make sense out of it. The tables represent various aspects of data, such as stores, customers, and products. You already know all of these ones in your Excel, right? Each column represents a specific type of information, customer's name or date, and each row represents a specific instance of the information, such as customer or date. All right? SQL allow us to extract data from these tables by writing queries that specify what information we want to retrieve. So SQL now, this is now where the query comes in, writing query. So SQL is the programming language, and the language itself is called query. You query the database. So these databases are stored somewhere in the cloud. They are stored somewhere in the cloud. So now, if you want to access it, you have to write a query that can do whatever you want it to do. For example, you just want to get the name of the customers. You write a query that will go to that database and fetch just the name of the customers. If you want it to come back with the name of the customer, the product they bought, and their location, it will come back with those three information for you, just the way you want it. Anyhow you want it, you should just write the query the way you want it. And it will go and get it for you. So let's look at this diagram. This is exactly how it works. We are talking about data, the different data types here. So SQL deals strictly on data. Remember, we did data sets, data types in Excel, in Power BI, but SQL is extremely strict with data types. In fact, when you're loading your data into Power BI, when you're importing your data into SQL, you must have to specify each data type that each column is going to carry. If you don't put it right, it will not import that data set into SQL. So you must specify that this is the kind of data that is going to be in this column, and it must be that data is very, very strict. So have the numeric. The numeric is your normal numbers. You have integer, you have float. You already know what these two means. So your numeric numbers, I'm supposed to open Excel and be writing, but I feel we have done this thing like repeatedly, so there's no point doing that. I'll just read. So numeric, integer, you know your integer. Integer is a whole number. Like you have 1, 2, 3, 9, 11, 100. These are integers. But float is now when you have 2.5, 3.6, 9.8. Once you have a point, it becomes a floating number. They all fall into this category of numeric. This is data number one, data type. Number two is the character string. You can call it string or character. String or character. So you have your varchar or your character. So this is same thing as text, the one we um call text in Excel or Power BI. So here it is called character. So this character can be letters. So, but when you now have numbers, you can call it varchar. Like when there's a mixture of number, maybe 00 C or maybe C100, or you have other characters attached to it. Then you have the Unicode character, the nchar, and the end text. So the nchar is like when you have Unicode. Unicode is when you have those kind of funny characters. These ones are not common. They're not common. This is the most common one. You have your binary. Binary is not really common also. Binary, then you have image, date and time, the same thing as Excel. Then your JSON and your Excel, this one is on your scrapping data from the website, but they are not common as well. So just get to know that the one you'll be meeting mostly is your numeric, your character, and then your dates and time most of the time. So this is the same schema thing that we talked about in SQL. So we meet it here again because of the connection. Because of the connection. So there's one thing I want you to know about SQL. Now, remember we said that SQL work with tables, and these tables have to be connected through foreign keys and primary keys. But what you don't know now about this table is that the tables must be separated before they come into SQL. I mentioned this already in Power BI, but this is now where it is very strong. These tables has to be splitted. That table that has all those things, you have to break them into. Did it go off? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, but your screen is no longer showing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so those tables have to be broken down into each of the table, like that big table. Now you have to split them into each unit, observational units. The customers table has to be talking about only customers information, the customer's name, customer's address, the customer's contacts. Then you bring out the product table, the product's name, the product's amount, the product's, anything about the product quantity, the size. Then you bring out the store, the sales table, the sales that was made, the date it was made, the amount that was realized, all of that. Then you bring out the custom. In fact, you split these tables and then put them into Power BI, bearing in mind that they all have the primary key and the foreign key because that's what is going to connect them when they get here. All right. So this is just like the schema. Each of the table must be seeing the next one. You can see how they are seeing each other. This one is seeing this one. This one is seeing this one. This one is seeing this one. You can see this one is connected to this. So if if this table need any information from here, it can easily get or can easily send. If this table need information from here, it has to send to this one. From here, it can connect to this one. You see that? If he needs anything here, you can connect to this one, and from here, connect to this one. Because since the tables are splitted into several tables, now the reason why they do this thing is because remember, SQL is a database, right? That is somewhere in the cloud. And these cloud spaces are paid for. Just like when you open your Google account, Google will give you 15 gig free data space, right, to be using. Once you exhaust it, you need to start buying new space. So because the spaces are paid for example, if you're working for Microsoft, all the people's different databases are stored in the cloud, and companies are paying for those spaces. If you're not working for your company and you need to get information there, each time you're spending on that cloud, they are paying per second. So if you go there and waste a lot of time, you're wasting their money. So the concept of splitting this table into several tables is it's to help you know that these tables are already splitted. You don't need to go into the big table and start querying it before the big table will finish loading and give you what you want. You spend a whole lot of time. So it's already splitted. Just go straight to the table that you want to work on. You don't have business with other tables. It makes your work fast. It makes querying very fast. It happens in split second. You already have your information so that you don't waste a lot of money. And of course, there's no point storing some information, some data you don't need. If you have a very large table, there's possibility of having some columns that you don't need, and you go and store it there. To be wasting space. You just be paying for space for nothing. But if you split it into, you remove all the unnecessary ones, you're paying for exactly what you need. There are so many advantages, so many advantages, It makes it light. It doesn't make it heavy. That's why it's splitted like so. These are all different tables, stored in the cloud. So we have this different kind of schema. This is mesh, I think they call it something like mesh, and then you have the star schema. So the star schema is same thing, there's no different, it's just the way they arranged it. So the fact table is in the middle. The fact table, I don't know if you can still remember the fact table and dimension table mentioned in Power BI schema. So your fact table is the one that doesn't change, while your dimension table are the ones that changes. Oh, I can't remember explaining this thing well in SQL. So there are some information that doesn't change. Your fact table, like if you go back to, I don't want to open Excel right now because I don't want to do practical today. I want us just introduce it, then from next lab start doing practical. If you open that data set that we've been using, that cookies data set, the products table has just 5 products: chocolate chips, fortune cookies, sugar, oatmeal raisin, just five of them. Then, if you go to other table, you're going to see a lot of that product coming and being sold. So it means I will still explain. Remind me, I'm still going to explain this thing practically for you when I open Excel in our next class. So when you go to that product table, since they have only 5 products, it means it's not changing, it's constant, it's fact. It doesn't change. But in the transaction table, which is the other table, the transaction is coming in. Any person can buy chocolate chips any second. Any new order can be coming in. New transactions are coming in. It's changing. While in the product table, it is static. It doesn't change. For them to add a new product, they have to go through some processes to make it it's not just common to change. Anyway, don't bother yourself about it. I'm still going to explain it because you may not understand it perfectly here. Let's see. So these are the different SQL commands. You have the DQL, which is the data query language. You have the DDL, data diffusion language. So, okay, we have DCL, which is the data control language, and then the DML, data manipulation language. Now, pay attention here. This is very important because this place alone, this thing alone now can send you to jail if you're working for your company. It can send you to jail. Let me explain again. We have the DQL, data query language. The query the query here, the command here is select. This is the most common. In fact, this is the one you're going to be using every single now and then. Select means you want to display, you want to see what is inside this table. So you say select. You're using it to query the database. Select is a very popular SQL language, which you're going to become familiar with from our next class because we're going to start writing queries already. So you use select a lot. If you want to display, you want to see what is inside the table, any table at all, just use select on that table. It will open everything for you, see what is inside. If you want to see what is inside a particular column, not a table, just select that column and it will display for you. Now, data definition language creates, drop, alter, truncate, comment, rename. This is definition. You're using it. You can use create means you're creating a new database. You can create a new database from scratch. You can create a new table from scratch. You can create a new column from scratch. You're using this. This is a very powerful language, very powerful query. You understand? If there's any column you want to add, just like in Power BI, what do we use to add column? We use DAX, right? We use new column in DAX to add new column. But here, if you want to add new column, if you want to create new table, you can even create a new table from scratch and put in information inside and save it to the database. It will work. Use create. Then drop. If you want to delete anything, you want to delete an entire database, you use drop. If you want to delete an entire table, you use drop. If you want to delete a column, you use drop. If you want to delete a row, you use drop. Alter. If you want to change maybe the table name, you want to change the column name, anything you want to change, you use alter. And all of this. So you're using this one to define. Then listen, you use data control language like grant, revoke. This one is mostly for system administrator. They used to give permission level to everybody. Then finally, we have the manipulation language. You have insert. So if you want to insert maybe in a table, you want to insert information inside the column or the row, use insert to insert it. If you want to update, maybe you want to change the name of the column, you want to change the data inside a column, maybe you want to change it from 112 to 113, you use updates. Delete, lock. Now, this is where it gets scarier. There's someone called, like I explained sometime in the past, in a workplace, especially in an IT company, there's something they call division of labor, especially when it comes to data. We have the data engineer, we have the data scientist, we have the data analyst, we have the system administrator, and some other occupation or whatever. You have to know your own occupation, they have to know your own level. If you go now, you as a data analyst in your company, this is the only thing you have access to, this select data query language. This is the only one. You can only query database. If you go and delete database, you go to jail, they will lock you. They will lock you and forget you inside that jail forever. If you go and delete or drop or create database, they will lock you up. So this is the only access you have to query database, and because it's not like you have anything you want to do inside SQL. The only reason why you're learning SQL, for example, there was a time I worked on a project, it's a banking project. They wanted to get the data of their customers that are registered some years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago, as students when they were still students. So they believe that by now, 5 years later, they must have graduated and started working. So they want to get them and then market some of their products to them because they are now earning big salaries. So they can afford some certain products in the bank. So they needed a data analyst or some sort of data analyst that will help them extract that particular set of customers that they are interested in. So it is now your role, your duty to just extract. The only thing you do with Power BI is just query it, just like query it and bring out the data you want to work on. You're not working on that data in SQL. You just query it and bring it out, then move it to either Power BI or SQL or any other software that you want to now work or do whatever you have to do with it, sorry. So the only thing is just to query and collect the information you need. You query the database and collect what you need to work on. So this is the only access you have. You don't have access to go and create. This one now is for data, maybe data engineer. Data engineers are the ones that are in charge of creating the database complete, like designing the pipeline, everything that has to do with the database. And the data scientists, of course, they have some level of permission. Then for this DSL, DCL, data control, is strictly for data administrators. They are the ones that are in charge of giving permission to everybody. So, like I said, that you're going to go to jail here. Now, you don't need to panic because you not even have the access to be able to do this thing. That's the crazy thing. Because this person here now will give you your access level. You understand? Just like in your office at workplace, there are places you cannot access. There are places, there's division of labor. There are places you can't go to, you can't access by default. Even if you try to access it, you cannot. You understand? So it's the same thing here. You won't even be able to access this part because you don't have the permission to. I think I've said much about this. Let's not waste the whole day here. Yeah, that's it. So go to the next one, which is just trying to explain all these things which I've done already. There's no point explaining them again. Then the select is very popular statement in Excel, in SQL that you're going to meet. So the next one is from. So you're going to select. Remember, I told you if you want to see the information in an entire table, you select that table. Now, if you want to, you say select from this time where you mention the table, because remember, there are so many tables in the database. So you select from, you now put the name of the table that you want to select from. Or if you want to select from a particular table, then rows, the particular columns in a table, then this is where you now mention it. All right. So if you want to put some conditions, use this where clause. This where clause helps you to filter, like you want to select where a specific event happened. Maybe you want to select where students are, or maybe where employers are earning up to 400,000. It's just like putting condition, logic. So you can see that SQL language is like normal English language. Select from, where, then group by. So all these things, we're going to do all of them. And then this is going to be your assignment when we get there. You can see how short SQL is. It's very short and interesting. Okay. And that's it about SQL. Though it's deeper than this. It's not just this simple, Sha. It's a bit deeper than this. So when we lay our hands on it, you're going to decide if it is fun or if it is not. But I'm sure it's going to be. All right. So we are going to start with installing the software, the SQL software, MySQL Workbench. I'm going to drop the video for you this night or in the morning that will guide you on how to install it. So make sure that before we come to class, you already installed it. Okay. Ah, something happened to somebody precious. That's how serious it can be. You're not even supposed to have access to such data in the database in the first place.
I
So,
was working as the database developer, like,
oh,
but we are still intended. So they gave me a task to do. I mistakenly overwrite a table. So I wanted to now delete. I deleted the main table instead of the
hmm,
one the one I just created. It was not fun. Thank God.
hmm,
It was not funny. I cried that day
yeah,
because my guy, he just had to, like, the co-owner of the company. What made him to call me? It was even around 8 on Friday. There was chaos, but First Bank was disturbing them that the app is having issues.
hmm,
So the man was now looking for what is the problem. Then now he now noticed, because he has access to the back end.
Mm.
He now said, who did this thing? Who did it? They said I worked for
You
some
know,
data.
you know why they are always serious about it. The reason why they are always serious about it is because, in fact, the reason why sometimes they send people to jail for doing it is because they usually do not have backup. Because in your mind, you feel like, such a big company should have backup. But they don't usually have backup to their data because of security reason. You can go and back it up, and then enemy will have access to that your backup and use it against you, or have access, or hackers can hack into your company data and destroy things. So it is risky because if you have a backup, it will cost you a lot of money to secure. You'll be securing the main data and you're also securing the backup with a lot of money. So usually they don't have backup. That's just the only one. If you go and tamper it, it's going to impact heavily on the company. So you don't go and press with the no say me, you don't press, you go suffer. You will go jail, you will go prison. That's the thing. But the good thing is that you not have permission, you don't have the access to do the wrong thing, okay? Okay. Most of these companies they spend heavily on security. If they tell you how much these guys spend on security, you'll not believe it. Because once anything goes wrong with their data, it is finished. The company is down. Company is gone. So I'm going to send the video, just install it. It's a step-by-step guide which I recorded. You're just going to follow it and install this SQL Workbench in your system. Please install. Last time I sent you guys video to install Power BI. All of you, Mary, did not install it. A lot of you did not install it. And then you come out and be complaining that this and that. Install this Power BI. This one is not like, sorry, install this SQL. It's not like Power BI that you can learn later. This one, as we are doing it, we are learning it straight up. You're writing your queries, you're seeing the results. In fact, in your final project, you're going to connect Power BI to SQL. You're going to connect it and be querying you'll be querying database from your Power BI. You'll be solving problems from both softwares, okay? You can connect Excel, you can connect, these things are very, very technical, all right? So I would like to take questions if there's any, so that I'll just call it a night and then prepare for the next class. Are there any questions you have?